Everyone has that video game series that they just can't get away from, but eventually you find yourself getting bored, and you try to find every way to keep yourself engaged with said title. Hey guys, this is Obi from Obi Gaming, and today we will discuss the 5 stages to epic gaming denial. Stage 1 starts out with the purchase of the latest epic AAA title. You purchase the game after months of looking at the game art and watching development videos. You're sitting there in front of your preferred gaming console waiting for the game to finish installing. You're still looking at the game art and/or reading the game's instruction manual, back when those were a thing. Your excitement is growing. You picture yourself playing the new title, pondering on the adventures you are about to take on. You finally look up and the game is finished installing and is ready to play. You may grab a drink or a quick snack to have while you play. You may even fetch a pillow or a blanket because you know that for the next 6 to 12 hours, you know that you are going to be lost within this new and exciting world. You start the game, excitement still building as you watch the opening cinematic. With most open-ended games, you spend the next 2 to 3 hours just creating the character that represents you in this universe. You make changes and tweaks to everything on the character, down to the cheekbones and the rise of the eyebrows. Or you could just skip the character creation altogether for a pre-made character that the game has presented you with just because you want to get into the new world. Finally, you're here, you're playing the game. At this point, there's usually some lengthy tutorial that explains how the game works, but you don't mind, you're just happy to be lost in the world. You finish the tutorial and the next thing that happens is you're released into the vast open world. You find yourself overtaken with all kinds of decisions. Where to go, what to do next. The game normally points you towards the main story, but if you're like me, you opt to get out into the world and experience everything the game has to offer. Other than playing out the story the developers have created, you decide to create a story of your own. You continue playing the game, and your breath is constantly taken by the details placed upon everything. You notice the design of a fallen log that has moss growing on it. Or you might find yourself following a river to see where it takes you, and you could not find yourself happier to be immersed in this situation. You feel like as if you could go on like this forever. At every turn you feel like a child playing with his favorite toy. You think it's never going to end and you will never feel the same about another game again. And this brings us to our second stage. Unfortunately, the bliss of a new game could not go on forever. At this point, you start seeing the flaws of the game. Could be the bad pacing of character dialogue, or you start to notice small glitches that remove you from the immersion. You notice the bad design of the inventory system.
I know this sounds boring, but those two-dimensional lists that role-playing games have, I hate. I want dressing rooms where I can change my clothes. I want armories where I can craft my weapons.
Yes, we're talking about you, Fable 3. Anyway, you start to get irritated every time you have to stop and go through your entire inventory just to remove a few items that might be weighing you down. You may even hate the imperfections of the character you designed, wishing you could start him or her from scratch. This is where you start to see the bad designs in a video game. Almost like you're opening your eyes for the first time and decided to take the red pill, and have become aware of the Matrix, and you start to see all the game's coding. At this point, you start to become aware of long loading screens and repetitive combat.
Double flash! Yep! Double flash! Yep! Double flash! Double flash! Double flash! Harpoon!
You notice every flaw that the game has. You start to take breaks in your play sessions. At first, these breaks are far and few in between, but these breaks become more and more frequent. You may even take a few days in between play sessions. And this is where our third stage comes into play. So, stage 3 is boredom. At this point, you start to create reasons to play the game. You may create a checklist of things you want to do. You may look online at quests that you have yet to complete just to see what offers the best rewards to weed out the inevitable trash that could waste your time. Some people create their own goals, such as high combat combos or hoarding stockpiles of meaningless junk.
One step closer to flushing out Ultra Tech.
Supreme victory!
You could even decide to learn more about the game's lore and try to suck yourself back into the immersion that you once had. I think at some point we've all gotten bored playing Grand Theft Auto and decided to drive like we're playing in real life, abiding by traffic laws, before becoming inevitably bored and just started running over pedestrians just because you can. You still find yourself thinking about the game when you're not playing it, but every time you play, your play sessions become shorter and shorter before the fourth stage happens. The fourth stage is the dreaded stage in every video game enthusiast, the inevitable break. You finally realize that you're bored with the game. Nothing in the game seems to interest you anymore. You start to look through your video game library. You search for something that might make you feel like you did when you first picked up your last amazing game. You choose a title and play it for a little bit before reality sets in and you realize that you're still bored. You could even play for a couple of hours, cycling through your vast video game library before you realize there's nothing that will live up to the amazing title you just set down. So you start a search for a new game. You may even spend some money on a brand new title, but it still does not seem to live up to the epic quest you would undertake on your last endeavor. You really try to focus on the new title, but it doesn't seem to have the same feeling. You can only really play it for a few hours before becoming bored and the search continues. At this point, you can continue cycling through your video games, or even take a break from gaming altogether, to pursue interest out in the real world. You start taking better care of your home, and go get that much-needed haircut. You try new hobbies, like working out, or starting that Lord of the Rings puzzle that's been collecting dust in your closet for a few years. Even though you may have distracted yourself for a while, you always find your mind wandering back to that amazing game you played for so long. Now it's been weeks or maybe even a year since you played that game. You may even ponder on the thought of playing it again, but you still remember all the bad things that brought you to the end of your play session. So you continue to not play the game for some time yet. Then nostalgia kicks in. You start to remember the game through rose-tinted glasses. You remember what it felt like the first time you played it. You imagine the first moments in this vast open world, and you think about what it felt like the first time you stepped through that rabbit hole and what it felt like to be there. You may look online to see if there's been any updates to the game, or to see if there's any DLC that has been released that might add to the experience of the game. You watch YouTube videos of other people playing the game. That only makes you want to experience the world for yourself. You finally cave and decide to load up the game. You feel the excitement come back. You may load up your old save file and continue where you left off, or because you have not played the game in a hot minute, you decide to start a new game from scratch. You recreate your character, doing it better than the first time. You may even finally decide to play out the story that you neglected to do the last time. You're happy you have your game back, but this happiness does not last for long. Again, you start to see the flaws that you noticed the first time. You try to ignore them, but the inevitable starts to happen again, but a lot quicker than the first time. So again, you find yourself repeating the 5 stages to epic gaming denial over and over again until...
But we know that most of you came here for one thing. Well, I think we have the best one yet.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've ever experienced these stages before, please leave a like, and also, I would like to know your story. If you've ever had a gaming experience like this, please leave a detailed comment down below. Also, if you could share this video on your social media pages, it helps more people find our channel and helps grow our community, and we really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Obi, signing out. See you guys next time.